Hello, my name is Cowboy Joe. Well, it's not, but today's message that I'm gonna do, part of the you know uploads, is that I'm gonna go over something that I've heard this story a few times, and I think this is something that resonates with a lot of the news that I've been seeing in the last few weeks. So, this one Sunday morning, an old cowboy, call him Cowboy Joe. He's running through the old west, and he's all dirty, and his cowboy hat is all dusty, and his spurs are all dusty, and his cowboy boots are all covered in dirt. He arrives at the front door of this fancy church, where everybody's dressed up to the nines and everything. Um, they he arrives, he kicks his boots a little bit to try and get as much of the mud off as that he can. And he comes into the church and he sits, and everybody looks at him and they're like, "Who is this?" And they're giving him looks and stuff. The preacher preaches his sermon. After the sermon, he walks up to Cowboy Joe and introduces himself and says, "Look at the outfit that you know, you know, there's attire that we wear to church. Um, maybe you should, you know, maybe you should pray to Jesus and ask him, what is appropriate attire for you to wear next time when you come to church." So Cowboy Joe, says, "Thank you," and heads off home, to where he is staying, out on the range. And next day he comes back to the church, dressed exactly the same way. Sits in the pew. They look at him funny again. Preacher says his sermon. After the sermon, he comes up to the guy again and says, "Did you pray to Jesus? Did you ask him, what proper attire would be when you come to our church?" And he said, "Yeah, the funny thing about that, I asked him about that, and he said he had no idea, because he'd never been there." So I thought that was a very interesting story, because Jesus accepted people for who they are, what they were wearing. I'm sure if I walked into a church and I were wearing this, this, um, I'm pretty sure that a lot of churches would be like appalled at what I was wearing, and it would dramatically affect how they treated me. So how you're in a good church is, maybe next Sunday, wear something like this. Wear something odd. Wear something, that would, be a little bit offensive, and see how they act. And you'll know you're in a good congregation if they treat you the same. They treat you with the same love. They treat you with the same care, the same compassion, regardless of what you're wearing or who you are. That's the message for today. So I hope hope the Holy Spirit guides you on this. I hope if you're a church pastor or a church leader, that you take these things to heart, because God really appreciates and loves everybody, regardless of who they are and what circumstances they have in their life, the way they dress, what they can afford. Jesus loved all of them the same.